Hello, 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 and welcome to episode three. I'm sorry, episode one, season three of Sipping Tea with Stacey T. Y'all, today the lighting is not that great, but you know what? I'm here. We're gonna have a conversation. Let's see if I can help out the lighting situation at all. Let me see. But I just want to thank you all. I want to thank you all for being here on this journey with me. It has been quite a thing. It has been quite a journey. I think this might help out a little bit. Okay, cool. So you're seeing a little reflection of me, but it's me, y'all. It is me. I just want to thank you all. I want to thank you all for, you know, what this journey has been and what it's allowed for me to do. The fact that I'm on season three, the fact that I've had three seasons, to be able to come to you and chat with you about what I have been managing through and how my healing journey has been shaping so much of my life. And, I'm just grateful. I'm in a season of gratitude. I'm in a season of gratitude because, when I started this thing in February, so I'm on day 519, I believe it is. And when I started my healing journey, I really didn't think that I was going to have um I didn't know I honestly didn't know what to expect. Honestly, I just came into it with the knowledge that I needed for things to be different. I came in with the expectation that I needed God to do something different and new in my life. Hey girl, how you doing? And so I started this whole journey and I was really honest about wanting for things to be different. I wanted to not feel stuck in my life. But I had no idea exactly how everything was going to pan out. I had no idea what things were going to look like for me. But now here we are, a year and a half later, season three, whole new season, whole new experience, walking into this with a very different feeling than I started with. And I'm grateful. Today, what I'm going to be talking about is freedom. Now, I know for those of you watching from the US, today is a day that was intended to kind of celebrate freedom, but we're going to talk about it not from that vantage point, but from the freedom that this healing journey has allowed for me to experience. And y'all, it was a day of running around. There's a lot going on, but I still wanted to do the sipping tea the way that I do the sipping tea, which is with a tea, right? So today's tea is going to be in Arizona. I think I had it. I might have had it the last time or not. I'm gonna do better with getting new teas. I know it's a new season, so typically I try to start with a new tea for the new season. But I think the content about what I'm going to talk about is the most important thing. So let me open this up, pour it in my ice. I have a cup with ice ready to go so that I can have a cool drink because y'all, it's 100 degrees. I don't know about y'all, but your girl does not enjoy the heat. I don't like it at all. I'm not one of those people that's like, "Oh, let's go and bask in the heat so we can sweat everything off." That's not me at all, y'all. That's I'm not that girl. So if you're that person, congratulations to you, but no thank you. No ma'am, no ham, not interested. But here we find ourselves. So it definitely was going to be a cold drink day. I knew that absolutely. But again, what I want to talk to you all about today is freedom. And what I will tell you is when you're starting your healing journey feels, how do I describe it? For me, and I can only describe it for me, my healing journey did not feel like freedom. It felt like, I was like opening Pandora's box and all these things, all these emotions, all of this trauma, all the pain that I had experienced up until the time where I started my healing journey came spilling out. Now, I will say after I like uncovered all the things and opened all the boxes that I could think of at the time anyways, when I did that, it did feel freeing. It absolutely did because all the things that I felt like had choked out my voice, all the things that had caused me to feel badly about myself, all the things that I had or people that I have allowed to minimize me or talk junk about me or whatever it was, all of those things were then put to the side. And now I was able to step into a different experience, right? And so I absolutely did that. But I'm going to talk to you more so about not when you just first get that freedom, because Initially, anything that happens right away feels good, right? It feels good when you get that first compliment from somebody you are interested in. It feels good when you get that first paycheck and the paycheck feels lovely, right? That feels good. It feels good when you do a personal best on something that you're trying to achieve. It feels good when you're able to do an exercise that maybe you couldn't do before. It feels good when you fit into a pair of clothes or a pair of jeans that you couldn't, pull up or zip up before without, basically greasing your legs all the way down to get into. All of those things feel good. However, it's important not just to have those moments. It's important for freedom to exist beyond one season of your life. I don't think that any single person that has been to prison or to jail wants to go back to that. Now there's some people that don't know how to get out of the cycle, but I don't think people are like, "Oh, I can't wait to go back," right? People typically want their freedom. They want to be able to move forward. They want to be able to live their life outside of people telling them every single thing. Hey, you can go to the bathroom now. Hey, you can eat now. Hey, you can shower now, right? You want to have freedom. You want to have the ability to govern yourself, to make the choices that you want to make for you, as opposed to someone else making those for you. So the thing that's crazy is, right, when you're living your life and you are living in a space where you're allowing for people to, speak negatively about you and you're believing it, or you're allowing for people to, use your work and say that, oh, you're like, oh, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter that they're taking credit for my work. All those things, all those moments where you are just kind of minimizing yourself or allowing for people to kind of treat you funny, those are moments that that you're sitting in a space and you're allowing yourself to be like put in bondage, right? You're allowing for yourself to be minimized. You're allowing for yourself to be less than. When you do those things, then the reality is they kind of do something to you, right? It kind of does something to you when you give up a piece of yourself, when you do a lot for people and they don't ever say thank you, or they never returned in kind, they never show up for you when it's your turn and you need something, you need support, they're nowhere to be found. That's a hard thing. That's a very hard reality, but it's the truth. It is absolutely the truth, and it happens. So what do you do when you're going through a healing journey? You've dedicated so much time, you've dedicated so much energy to it, and now all of a sudden you're changed a lot, but it feels uncomfortable for you. And I think that there's not enough conversation about the fact that, as you go through your healing journey, you're going to change. I think everybody knows that, right? Because you're like, oh, yeah, I want to change my boundaries. I want to set up boundaries for people. I want to show up differently. I want to have more confidence. I want to, try new things. I want to be adventurous. I want to have a new job. I want to have a new car. I want to have a relationship, whatever it is, right? You're trying to work out some of the things about yourself so that you can move forward, which is great. However, the problem then becomes you're moving forward in these areas and then something happens and something happens and something happens. And now you're like, who is this person? I see something that looks like Stacy, but I don't entirely recognize her. And then when that happens, because you might have many changes, at first you may not like feel them as much. But when you really start to notice the changes and then other people tell you that they notice the changes, it can make you feel some type of way. It can absolutely make you super uncomfortable. So now what people do they have two choices. They can go back to the version of themselves that was familiar. Now there are lots of people. We know tons of people that are in bad situations. They may be in a bad relationship, they may be in a job that treats them really badly, and they stay in these things. Why? Because it's what they know. They're like, Stacy, I don't want to leave this man. The people talk about how hard dating is and the grass isn't greener. So I'm going to stay with this dude that maybe doesn't really treat me that well. But at least I know who he is. And at least I'm not single. At least somebody chose me, right? So there are people that will sit in a bad situation because they know what they're getting in. People say the devil they know versus the devil they don't. I don't want any of the devils. But that's why some people make those choices, right? So now you're in a situation, everything feels like everything is changing. And what I'm going to tell you is people don't talk about how that in itself can make you feel uncomfortable because you're trying to figure out who you are. And they don't talk about the fact that you're going to feel so unfamiliar to yourself that then it feels uncomfortable. You expect for people to change, and you can look at somebody and say, oh, that person's being sometimey, that person's being fake, that person's being phony, and that makes sense. But when you're in a position that you're feeling weird to yourself and you're like, am I being real, or did I change so much that I'm not really the version of Stacy? Y'all, you're not supposed to be the same version of yourself that you were when you were 20. You're not supposed to be the same version of yourself when you were 30, or even if you go back in time, the 10-year-old version of Stacy is so different from the 15 and the 20 and the 25 and the 30 and so on and so forth, right? As I've gotten older, I should be changing, but it can feel scary. It can feel uncomfortable. So what do? We decide, and this is not everybody, but sometimes we decide, you know what? I'm going to stay in this situation. I'm going to stay in this relationship that is a dead end anyways. I'm going to stay in this job where I feel I hate every day. I get up and I dread it every day, but I have to be an adult and I have to make decisions and I have to be responsible and all the things, right? So I'm going to sit in this position where I feel like I am trapped. I feel like I can't breathe. I feel like I'm suffocating in the situation, but I'm going to stay there because the fear of the unknown is too much for me. So I'm going to choose bondage. What people don't talk about is when you're in your healing journey and it feels uncomfortable, and now you're reaching for that bondage, the freedom that you were given, the freedom that God gave to you as a measure of you saying, God, I don't want to be this version of myself anymore. I want to be different. I want to be whole. I want to be happy. I want to move forward. I want to progress. And so he gave you those things. And now you're like, but God, none of the people that were around me are talking to me anymore. All the people that I used to know, they no longer show up for me. All the friends that used to like have my back and be my cheerleaders, I don't ever get a call from them. They never are checking to see how I'm doing. They're never encouraging me. They're never challenging me for better. They're never around. They don't call me just to say, hey. And so wait a minute, maybe I don't want to move forward. Because I never said moving forward I wanted to be alone. I never said moving forward that I wanted to have no connection. I never said moving forward I didn't want to feel love. I never said moving forward that this is what I was picturing. And so what I want to do is encourage you, because I wanted to be honest about that being a very real season in your healing. And you could call it diamond healing, the pressure and the heat kind of, pushing people out. But I'm going to tell you, the reality is that some of the people that are in connection with you were never meant to stay in connection with you. Some of the jobs that you've been working, you got the job because you got desperate and you chose a job, as opposed to going to God and saying, God, what is it that you see me doing? God, what direction should I move in? God, help me with the choices. Often what we do is we make the choice and then we're like, well, you know what? Let me call God after and see if he has anything to say. And he's like, wait a minute. Why didn't you check in with me before you made this decision? Because I would have never told you to do that. I would have never told you to align with that person. I would have never told you to get in a relationship with this person. I would have never told you to engage in this conversation with your family. I would have never told you those things, because those things are going to put you back in bondage. I don't know if you guys have ever had relationships with somebody, and it could be a friend, it could be a family member. And when they spoke to you in such a way that it gutted you. It hurt you so deeply. And you didn't try to show it, or maybe you did try to show it and you had a conversation and they were acting like you were just being so dramatic, or they were acting like, no, you're making that up. That's not what I meant. But they know exactly what they meant, and they know the damage that they did when they opened their mouth to say what it is that they said. Right? That is the truth. And unfortunately, people will not always admit to the truth. They will not always be accountable to the things that they've said. So if you've ever been in a position like that, right? You've ever been in a gutted position, in a position where you were never expecting for somebody that you've cared about, somebody that you've known, somebody that you're related to, you never would have anticipated them saying such negative or nasty things to you. But the reality of it is guess what? Some people will absolutely do that. And the ways that people that have known you, especially when you're trying to heal, there's this thing that some people do. And the thing is, I call it dinosauring, right? They want to bring you back in time, way, way back in time. Remember the youngest version of yourself? You were always mean and nasty. Remember back in the day, you used to be a player. You used to always be with all the dudes. Or remember back in the day when you did this, that, and the other thing. They refuse to let you walk in freedom. And the reason is, unfortunately, that you being broken works to their advantage, right? Because you being broken means they can take advantage of you. You being broken means they can call on you. You drop everything, or you being in a damaged place means, guess what? You know what, Stacy? I need this. And you're like, oh, well, I really don't have it. Well, I guess I'll just try to find somebody who really can. They can manipulate the heck out of you, right? And that's the reality of it is in this thing where you are so seeking somebody to validate you. You're in a place where you've allowed for somebody to come in and say all these things that are not true about you, but you have this need for people to like you. You don't want to hurt people, and the people that are seeing you change, sometimes they don't like that you're changing, because again, they can't manipulate you. They can't get you to yes man or yes woman them to death. They can't get you to decide to do a thing that you no longer want to do. And it could be as something as simple as, maybe you were a person who smoked cigarettes and you've decided, I don't want to do that anymore. And the people, but that's part of our thing. We have coffee, we smoke our cigarettes, we go for cigarette breaks together, and we hang out and da 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 da. And that's our friendship. And you're like, okay, that's cool. I'm gonna still drink coffee and I'm gonna go hang with you. No, it's not the same. You have to smoke too. And then they're peer pressuring you. And now you're falling back into that, because your desire for them to like you, your desire to be accepted, is more important than your desire to be what it is God has intended you to be. And there's going to be a time in your healing journey where you have to make the decision: do I want to be free, or do I want to be bound? I'm going to tell you, it doesn't sound like logically anybody would choose to be bound, right? Like I said earlier, nobody's going to choose this. Let me go back to prison. No, people are going to say, I want to be able to do my own thing. But the decisions that you make may not say that. The decisions that you make may say, you know what, lock me up. The decisions that you make may say, okay, you know what, I know that this isn't good for me. I know this could damage my mind. I know it could damage my spirit, what I'm about to do. I know it could damage my heart, but I'm still gonna do it, because if I don't do it, then I lose this friend. If I don't do it, I lose this opportunity, and I don't want to do that. I don't want to start from scratch. I don't want to be in this position. So there's going to be a time where you have to choose: am I going to be free? Is freedom the thing that I'm really chasing after? Freedom in God, freedom in Christ, the thing that only He can give? Or am I going to decide to do what's regular for me? Am I going to decide to lean on the familiar? And nobody can make that choice for you but you. Nobody can make that decision for you but you. But you're also going to be the only one who feels it. That's the wild thing, right? People will influence you to make a bad choice. People will influence you to do something that is selfish. People will manipulate you to make a choice because it works in their benefit on their behalf. They're not even considering you. They're not considering the fallout when you might do something that is not good. They're not considering now that you have to start over from scratch. You've done so much work, but you know what? Oh, Stacy's strong. Stacy's tough. She'll be all right. Why? Because they're thinking about themselves. They're not thinking, wow, I want to support Kathy as she's moving forward. I want to support her, because I believe in what she's talking about. I want to support her because I know that she can do it. I want to support her because she's working hard to change her life, to be a better version of herself, to be a happier version of herself, to fulfill dreams that she's maybe never told a single soul about. And because I care about her as a person, I'm going to purpose to make sure that I support her, even if that means that I can't get what I want from her, even if that means that our relationship has to change or shift. Because I care about her, I'm going to make sure that I also hold her accountable. If I see her doing something she said that she was no longer going to do, I'm going to say, hey, wait a minute. I thought we weren't doing that anymore. But again, there are some of us that will choose acceptance. There are some of us that will choose people liking us or validating us and telling us our value and telling us how great we are and stroking our ego. Some of us so desperately need that. Why? Because the younger version of ourselves never got that. And so now we're still seeking it, right? We're still so desperately wanting to be chosen and wanting to be picked on the team and wanting to be said, hey, you're also one of the cool kids. And we're still seeking that in our 30s, in our 40s, in our 50s, and so on. But the fact of the matter is, we don't need to be doing that because God has already given our value. He's already told us we're one of the cool kids when we choose to live a life with Him. He's already told us that we have value, unending value, immeasurable value, because He granted it to us. But instead, we choose bondage. We choose to be in bondage to people's opinions. Y'all, I literally, for so much of my life, lived so controlled by how people viewed me. Oh my gosh, if I say this the wrong way, then people are going to be mad. If I don't do this, if I don't dress this way, if I don't talk this way, if I don't show up for this person every single freaking time they're doing a thing, then people are going to disqualify me. They're going to say that I'm not doing enough. They're going to say that I'm not considerate. They're going to say that I'm selfish. They're going to say I'm not loving. They're going to say I'm too emotional if I cry when something pricks my heart. Right? They're going to, oh, Stacy, here comes Stacy with, oh, here comes the waterworks, right? But again, when they want somebody to sit there with them when they're crying, when they want somebody to be able to show compassion, when they want somebody to show up in empathy, when they want somebody who's going to sit and pray with them or let them vent or let them cry and rub their back and encourage their spirit, then they want that version of me. But when it doesn't suit them, they want to control and contain what God has told me that I am. So they want to put me in bondage so that I only show up in the way and the capacity that they want. But the fact of the matter is, God has said that who the Son has set free is free indeed. So that means that I am free because God said it so. If I choose to live in bondage, that is my choice. I can't blame that on somebody else. Yes, they may have said, oh, Stacy, do this thing, or, oh, Stacy, you so sometime and you feel different. Ma'am and sirs, if you are in your 40s and you are not any different than you were in your 20s, I'm going to need you to figure out what's going on in your life. Because the person that is 25 years old does not make the same decision as somebody who is 45, at least they shouldn't, as somebody who is 45 years old. At some point, you have had to grow. At some point, you have had to ask God for more wisdom. At some point, just by matter of fact of loving God and getting to know Him and having a relationship, He imparts wisdom and discernment to you that you don't have when you're 25. That's why they say youth is wasted on the young. And that's why they say phrases like young and dumb. Why? Because when you're young, you make choices that you would never make with this new way that you see the world. People have asked me before, Stacy, would you go back in time? If you had the ability to go back in time, would you? And sometimes, back in the day, I was like, nah, I never would. I don't want to go back and take tests in school, right? That's the thing. But I'm like, wait a minute. If I know all the answers to the test, then maybe, right? Just maybe for that. But the reality of it is, if I had the ability to take the wisdom that I have now, if I was able to take the fact that I'm comfortable in my skin now, I didn't have that when I was in my 20s. I daggone sure didn't have it when I was in my teens. I was in a space that I was just always like, picking myself apart. And you're around other people that seem more, glamorous. So they have more money or they have more status and they have more friends and they have just a life that looks so much different than yours. And so there was definitely this feeling like I didn't fit in, this feeling like I didn't have enough or I just wasn't enough. And I've said that that's one of the reasons why I fumbled a fantastic man. Because I was in a space in my life that I was so uncomfortable in my own skin. I could not understand why this man that was fine wanted to be with me. I was like, why would he want to be? He could be with any woman. Why does he want me? Now, this version of myself wouldn't feel that way, but that version of myself did, because I didn't have the wisdom. I hadn't unpacked all of my trauma. I hadn't unpacked all the reasons why I felt that way about myself. Why was I not able to look in the mirror and see somebody that was beautiful looking back? Because I didn't feel like that at all. That's a bondage that you can sit in because somebody told you, oh, you're fat and sweet, right? Which people, obviously, if you're beige and you understand what I'm saying when they say fat and sweet, right? Oh, that's supposed to be, it's kind of a compliment, but kind of not. They did say that you're fat, but they also said you're sweet, right? So it's like one of those things that all these little sayings and compliments. It's kind of why I tell people, don't ever, nickname your kid fat. People are like, oh, well, they're pudgy. They're going to grow out of it. Why do you still hear grown men that are 25 and 30 years old, they go to a family reunion and somebody calls them fat? Why? Because somebody at 3 thought it was cute to nickname this child that was a little chunky fat, and now it's carried out through the entirety of this person's life. You have no idea, by just speaking those words out of your mouth to this child, if you subjected this child to a whole lifetime of constantly pulling at their sides and trying to suck in their stomach, or trying to, take all these different methodologies to try to be skinny. And I'm talking about back in the day when people were popping, these diet pills like it was water, and doing this and starving themselves and doing all these unhealthy techniques to try to get to what people say is a societal way that people should look. Again, in bondage to people's opinion, in bondage to the thoughts of others. It is entirely fine to like someone's thought. It's entirely fine to hear someone's opinion. But what does God have to say about the matter? He said you're fearfully and wonderfully made. Does that mean you can't get healthier? Do what you need to do. But what you should not be doing is allowing for somebody else to dictate your life, allowing for somebody else's opinions to tell you that you don't deserve to be happy. If I listen to people's opinions as a plus size Black woman that wears wigs and makeup, I should be sitting somewhere in a corner shaking myself. Why? Because they've said, oh, women that wear wigs, I'm proud of their heritage. I'm very proud of being a Black woman. People that wear makeup are trying to cover up for something. I'm covering up for nothing because I'm still attractive. The fact of the matter is, I like makeup because I like it. I'm not doing it for you. I like it and I wear it for me, right? Plus size. Oh Lord, you must be sitting around eating, popping food in your mouth every second you get and just eating nonstop. Or you're just lazy and slovenly, and that's why you just y'all, I'm telling you. If you sit there and listen to the opinions of people, every single word that comes out of their mouth will be a jail cell for you. So freedom is going to be something that is such a distant ideal that you'll never achieve it. You'll never be able to see it. It's imperative that you understand that in your healing journey, it is you and God trying to figure this thing out together, trying to unroot all the pain and the trauma of your past, trying to, as you go through the layers of healing, because there's layers, y'all. But as you go through the layers of healing, sitting there and understanding that God is walking them with you. God is unpacking the things with you as you unpack the next layer and then the next layer and the next layer. You continue to commit towards your healing. In that time, in that season, he's unopening and he's making you free in new areas. And the enemy, what does he want to do? He wants to put you back in bondage because his job is to kill, steal, and destroy. It's a lot easier to destroy you if you're behind a jail cell in your mind, or sometimes even physically, right? But it's easier to pull apart all of your dreams and all of your hopes and all the things that have encouraged you and all the things that have made you feel whole and all the things that have brought you joy and all the things that have made you feel happy. If I can put you in bondage and if I can take away that mentality of freedom in Christ, then guess what? I'm a coming for the easy attack. And we don't understand, we don't sit and recognize that that's what the enemy is doing. Sorry, I needed some of that iced tea, y'all. I needed some of that iced tea. It is so important, y'all. It is so important that we recognize what the enemy is doing. This week in particular, God has been doing a lot. And I've felt the enemy really ramping up. I felt him really angry. I felt him this just aggressive feeling, this heaviness that he's trying to push out on people, right? And so the enemy, what did he do? Because God has had me being vocal and had me really stepping out and had me encouraging people. So the first thing that he did was make it almost impossible for me to conduct one of my lives, which is hearing God's voice versus hearing the enemy's voice, right? He made it almost impossible for that to go through on social media, on TikTok, because he didn't want me to have the conversation with people. Why? Because he wants people to live in bondage. For lack of knowledge, the people perish. And what does that leave you to? That leaves you to, it leaves you to bondage in hell. That's what it leads you to. It leads you to a whole lifetime of bad choices. It leads you through a whole lifetime of feeling like you have no options other than the turmoil that you're existing in, other than the torment that the enemy has sat you in. You feel like that's the only thing that is possible for you. I have to live in this thing. But no, if you have committed to your healing journey, freedom is your portion. Healing is your portion, and healing brings about freedom because he unlocks the things that have kept you captive in your mind. If you unlock the things, the areas that the enemy has held you captive in your mind, you have access to freedom, because freedom is in Christ. But what he wants you to do is be stuck in those things. Right? So that's why he'll have you linger on conversation about, why has this person hurt me? Why do these people keep doing this to me? Why do those church people so nasty? Why is this person always in my business? Why is this person so petty? If he can have you focus on areas that you have been hurt, areas where you have been disrespected, areas where you've been minimized, you are now not thinking about the freedom that is offered in Christ. And that's the goal. That's the main agenda. If I can get you out of that and make you feel like being bound, losing your freedom is what you get as a result of doing something to God. God doesn't operate in shame. He wants freedom for you. And that's why he gave you free will. He gave you free will because he respects that freedom should be your portion. He wants you to choose him. He could make us all robots and we just be like, yes, Lord, yes, Lord. Yeah, he could do that. And so I've asked him a couple times why that wasn't the route. But he wanted for us to choose him of our own will. He wanted for us to make a decision that freedom and not bondage was what we wanted for our life. And you'll hear people say, oh, all you Christians and all you people that believe in this God up in the sky, this pie in the sky thing, all you people are just whacked out, and you believe in anything, this magical being. And why do they do that? Why do you think all that stuff is coming out so hard now? Because the enemy needs to do something for you to doubt that God is who he is. Because if you doubt that God is who he is, then you also are now confused. Like, if I doubt who God is, then he can't really make me free. And the word says, if you know the truth, so know the truth, and the truth shall make you free. Know the word, and it will make you free. He doesn't want you to believe that. He doesn't want you to look in the word. He doesn't want you to have a relationship with God on your own. He wants you in bondage. He wants you in bondage. And the reality of it is we'll act like we're free. We'll kind of throw out those like mental, emotional fireworks and pretend that everything is going well and all that. But the fact of the matter is, y'all, if you're free, you're free. If you're not, you're not. You know that. It doesn't matter if I know it. It matters that you are living it. You do not have to believe what the enemy has said about you, because it's not the truth. But if you have decided to take it on as truth, then you're deciding to forfeit freedom. And there's nothing that anybody can do besides you. Now, I can pray for you. I can pray that God continues to touch your heart. I can pray that God continues to try to show who he is to you. But you have to have a willing heart, a heart that is open, not a heart that is closed. Because a closed heart can't see God. A closed heart can't feel God. When I was heartbroken, the first thing, and I've said this multiple times, the first thing that I said to God was, God, please make sure my heart is not hardened. Because I know that I needed that connection to him. And the enemy didn't want that. He wanted that heart to get hard. He wanted me to sit in a season that I wanted revenge. He wanted me to do all the things that would have now then separated me from what God intended. God has handled the situation. I don't have to do a thing. All I have to do, well, I do have to do a thing. I have to do a thing about the situation, but all I have to do is keep trusting in God, keep leaning on God, keep learning from him, keep sitting in his love, keep sitting under his protection, under his wings. That's what I have to do. That's how my freedom is accessible to me. Anything else, it puts me in mental, emotional, and spiritual bondage, which again means you're not free. It means you're sitting in a bad place. It means you're sitting in a place where the enemy can continue to torment you. It means you're sitting in a place where you have envy or bitterness or hatred in your heart. That's what that means. Bitterness, envy, or jealousy, however you would like to look at it. Revenge, hatred. They're sneaky. They are sneaky, tiny, little insidious things that just creep up into your spirit. And before you know it, when you see the person, automatically you have a in your spirit, right? You hear the person's name and you get angry just hearing their name. But the fact of the matter is, when that comes into your spirit, you say, enemy, devil, you got to get up out of here, because God has already delivered. Because we have to be honest, there are people that exist in those spaces. Some of us have been hurt and we are bitter about the hurt that was in our heart. But if you decide for bitterness to be the root and you allow for it to take root in your spirit and you continue to let it grow, ma'am and sir, you have to have God go in there and pull that out. That's not just something you can wish out, because you've had years of letting bitterness, anger, hatred, envy, whatever, sit in your spirit. And the enemy is continuing to fertilize that seed. Or the weed, actually. He's continuing to make sure that it grows. He's continuing to make sure that it is a stronghold in your life. And when you have all these strongholds in your life and in your mind and in your spirit, guess what's happening? You are being further and further and further placed in bondage. There's no freedom in that. There is zero freedom in that methodology, in that thought. We have to make the conscious effort. We have to make the conscious decision that the way that we lived before is not what we're looking to do moving forward. Now, that doesn't mean you have to change every single thing about you. It does mean you have to consider the areas in your life that you've been living that have kept you in bondage. If you've believed that you are not enough for a long time, that is bondage. There's no freedom there. And it's a lie, because God told you the opposite of that. If you've been living in a space where you've constantly felt like you were, too stupid, too big, too skinny, too dumb, too nerdy, too whatever it is, right? God told you that you are fearfully and wonderfully made. But the enemy doesn't want you to remember that. He wants you to remember all the times you were rejected. He wants you to sit and remember all the times you've been disappointed. Because every single time one of those moments gets replayed in your brain, he feels like he's pushing you further and further and further into prison, further and further and further into bondage, further and further into the space where you're believing this as true, and you are allowing for the seed that he has planted, the seed of doubt of who God is and what God said. As long as he can keep pushing that further and further and further into the ground, then he feels like he's going to be able to get you into a place where you will not be able to know that freedom is even your portion, that it is something that you have access to through God. But again, do you choose freedom or no? Do you choose freedom or jail? Mental, emotional, spiritual, a decision only you can make. Y'all, that is what God told me to talk about today. I'm hoping that it blessed. And I know there are a lot of people, because I did this in a time that I never do it. It's 4:45 when I started this. So I appreciate, for those of you who are my regulars, I know that the time was off. I appreciate you. Know that I love you. For those of you who are watching for the first time, thank you for being here. My name is Stacy. Sipping Tea with Stacy T, something I started in February of 2025. It is now July 4th of 2026. We're still at it every single Saturday. The intent is to do it at 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Feel free to come by at any time. I have all of the episodes saved on YouTube. So go back through time, check out a couple of episodes. And the last thing I wanted to say, y'all, is, there is this thing that happens as we decide to make choices for our healing journey. And as we do it, there's going to be moments that we get a little bit of afraid, because, and I'll use myself as an example, some of the things that God has told others to tell me, I guess you could say, or has imparted to me through others, is something that I would never in my life think would happen in my life. And what I want to say about that is, sometimes when that is the case, it can make you feel like you're unworthy. It can make it feel like it is impossible or improbable that it will happen for you. But nothing is impossible with God. Nothing. So with that, I want to say thank you so much. I appreciate you. I hope you have a fantastic day. Stay safe because, as you know, today's the day after the third and before the fifth, barbecue day. Whatever it is that you might call today. But I thank you for spending a little bit of time with me on this day, and I do hope that you have a fantastic day, a safe day, a time to reflect and enjoy with the people that you care about. With that, be kind to yourself, be kind to others, and extend to yourself first, and then to me, your girl, a measure of grace. Thank you so much for being here for the beginning of season 3, episode 1. We'll see you next Saturday. And next Saturday, we'll have a different time slot. I have to figure out what that is. I have an engagement that I have to get to next Saturday. It will be at a different time, but I will let you know during the week. I'll post a little video, so pay attention to that. All right. Bye, y'all. Have a blessed day.